Hey, what is up everybody, Reubin here. My name's Reubin and welcome back to the best space engineers creations. Now as you can tell, our surroundings are a little bit different. We are actually on the moon this time. I just wanted to show off a little bit more about the game itself. And yes, those three things you can see in the difference, obviously one the sun, one being a planet very far off, and one being the Earth. Those are actually there. Fly long enough, fly straight enough, and you will eventually be caught in its gravity, and you can eventually go and land on the surface of that planet. And obviously, well, do whatever you need to on that planet. But that's not why we are here today. We're here today to have a look at some more community creations. And today we're actually going to be having a look at 2 stations and 1 fighter, if you want to call it that. Now the 2 stations are both designed by the same person. Now the first person and the first creation we're going to be looking at is the Citadel Fortress. Now this is by Black Armor. That's the creator of this mod, this station if you want to call it that. And it's a vanilla creation. I don't know, there's just something about a vanilla creation that when you've used no modded blocks and you've used everything only the game has provided, and you come up with something truly spectacular and truly beautiful, I don't know, for me that's just going that's over the top. So the first one we're going to be having a look at is the Citadel Fortress, and that is this beautiful thing right here. Now the Citadel Fortress, obviously as it states, it's a nice little outpost to have. You can either set up some people inside here, set it up as a permanent outpost, obviously be a fort if need be. As you can see, I mean, we haven't even started moving it, and you can already see that it is kitted out. We've got 2 layers. First layer of Gatling guns on all 4 corners of the construction itself, and then on all 4 corners, 1 layer up, we've got rocket launchers, and it looks to me like we've got an observation deck there at the top. But I'm actually going to drop down just to show you the pure scale. Now forget about this random block that was there. That was just so that I could actually place this damn thing down. So what actually do is we can turn off our jetpack so we can actually see the pure scale of this creation. Once again, when you zoom out or when you're flying around the creation, it doesn't actually look that big. But once you start getting closer, once you really start getting up to it, and you're actually in third person, you actually start getting a good sense of how big this creation actually is. And if I'm not mistaken, this entire creation is done out of heavy armor blocks, so this thing will stand up to quite a fight if it ever had to come its way. Now it's basically mirrored exactly like a square as you would expect it to mirror. However, there are 1 or 2 differences on the side. So we start off with the top over here. Now this top layer is basically like a catwalk or a walkway. We've got some control stations over here if you want to manually control those turrets, or you can obviously have those turrets set up so that they automatically take out anything that comes within, I think it's a maximum of the 800 meter range. It will automatically target that object. And obviously it would be the same all the way around. All the way around it would be exactly the same. Now if we go 1 level up, there's actually a door over there. We're not going to go in through that door. I just want to show you the outside first. We have got some turrets up here. Now exactly the same concept. There is control stations here at the bottom should you really want to control this yourself. Obviously you may be looking for 1 or 2 very accurate shots and you don't possibly trust the AI system, then you can obviously do it yourself. Climb into the chair, control the turret. You are pretty protected inside there. Obviously you do have your back exposed, but that's basically understandable. And then you can control these turrets, these rocket launchers, and basically try and take out whatever target comes your way. So that's basically mirrored all the way around. It's the same layout all the way around the ship. Now I do apologize if we're going into the dark over here. Obviously I want to try and showcase this thing to the best of its potential, so I want to keep it in the sun. Now as you can see, there are a couple of entrances. We've got 2 entrances on this side, we've got an entrance on this side, and then we've actually got a hangar on the other side. We've actually got a hangar over here. Now as you can see, I actually quite like this. Do apologize about the light, but do keep in mind, no matter how we place this thing, there's always going to be at least one side that falls in darkness. So we've got this lovely hangar over here. We've got some 2 interior turrets protecting the door over there should something unwanted come too close. And then obviously this will open up these lovely doors and lead into our hangar bay. And I mean, look at the amount of detail. Look at the attention to detail. I mean, that is the first time, honestly, that I have seen somebody make use of that split staircase where it's center and then it splits right in it. It's the first time I've seen somebody make use of something like that. Now, keep in mind, the interior is obviously going to be very empty because there aren't any mods in this creation. I mean, you can obviously go and download your own mods, download this creation, and basically put in your own furnishings just to give the place a more bit of a homely feel. So apart from that, we're just going to move down this way. Now this is where our corridors are, and once again, I think we've got some turrets over here on the stand, but these turrets are incomplete. These turrets haven't actually been fully welded up, so it's basically just like a nice display piece. I love the archways that the creator has built over here. Gives you that very Star Trek-y, Star Wars, sci-fi feel. I mean, no jokes, it looks damn good. Now these doors that obviously lead out this way, as far as I'm aware, these doors just lead back to the outside. Now, obviously we don't need to go outside, we are purely here to have a look at this this fortress on the inside. So we're going to look at the bottom layer first before we go anywhere close to the top. And through here we've got the ammunition depot. Now the ammunition depot, obviously it's just a whole bunch of storage containers, but this will be a good centralized place to obviously put your ammunition, and possibly close this off to the rest of the circuit to the base so that it isn't fed in with pipes. And then possibly, instead of having a hallway over here, you could have a door over there that is locked to only individuals, so that only certain crew members or certain individuals can access the ammunition depot. Obviously all about safety, so you got to make sure everything is secure. Now this I like over here quite a bit. Now the reason why I do that, I want to actually run up here. We've got 2 control stations, and these control stations basically just, well, they just are seats in short. But I wanted to do this for a reason. I wanted to come up here so that I could show you this. That is where the main reactor is mounted. Now most people just mount the reactor and they leave it as it stands. I'm going to turn on my lights over here just for a moment, because I want to show you how the creator has basically designed this entire thing. He's got the piping, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, no, it's not piped up. This creation isn't piped up at all, I don't think. Obviously I can't see some of the sections at the back there, but I don't think it's actually piped up. But it doesn't need to be. I mean, just the way he set it in over here, the way that you can easily access this access point, and then obviously the way it's closed off over there, and just the design around it makes it look like it is a proper encasing for a nuclear reactor. And I think that looks absolutely stunning. Now this is a creation that's actually supposed to be used on a planet with an atmosphere, and a planet that has got oxygen, because right now obviously there's no oxygen in the building itself. So this creation would be useless on the moon, but I decided to put it on the moon just so we can obviously get a bit of a change of scenery. So we'll run around this side quickly just so that we can obviously access that staircase. And once again, I mean, the way that he's designed almost these chandeliers basically, I mean, he's got the angled glass, he's got a block inside there with the lights on it, and then it looks like there's an unfinished LCD screen at the bottom of that with a light put against it. So minute details, but it all looks stunning. And I mean, if you have a look at this, I mean, this whole creation, from the way you look down onto that open door, onto that open hangar bay, you could possibly park a vehicle in on that section over there, and then it leading up into the staircase, and obviously splitting left and right. I mean, this absolutely looks stunning. Now over here we've got the terrace. This is the first level, so this does actually lead to the first level where, if I'm not mistaken, the Gatling guns are. Let me just make 100% sure. Yep, this leads to the level where all the Gatling guns are, so you can actually access that point should you need to in a case of an emergency. Now obviously that door out there will just lead into another section on that side. Now instead of having the split staircase, I like what he's done here. He's created a center column in the center, and then he's run basically, those are actually windows, those are actually like vented windows, and he's actually placed them in such an angle that they look like stairs, and they actually serve a damn good purpose as stairs, because unfortunately the vanilla stairs that are in the game use up, I think if it's two blocks, and the way to place it, you need to use 3 blocks to place it, because obviously you need space to be able to, once you reach the top of the stairs, obviously walk on another platform, basically like a landing. So the vanilla staircase that is in the game uses up a lot of space, and using these windows as basically your staircase, not only does it work well, but it takes up a quarter of the space. I mean, if we stand up here and you have a look down, I mean, it is very simple, it's very minimalistic, it's very basic in what is actually found inside here. But once again, it comes down to, this is a vanilla creation, and this is a fort. This isn't supposed to be luxurious, this isn't supposed to be absolutely stunning, and I mean, which in my eyes it actually is. It's supposed to serve a purpose. And once again, the creations that I have a look at have to have a real world application. They have to be realistic in their uses. So once again, something like this could be used very, very well. It's a fort or an outpost, just somewhere where people can come and be safe. I mean, with the heavy over blocks that you've got all around you, I mean, it's going to take quite a while to get through that. The only weak points are obviously the glass, but we could always just pretend and say that it's bulletproof glass. And if I'm not mistaken, as far as I'm aware, the glass in the game is very resilient, to say the least. I mean, I think it's actually quite stronger than the standard armor blocks, but don't quote me on that because I actually think I might be wrong. So we've got another staircase that leads up over here, and this one is encased in glass. But before we go up this way, I just want to have a look a little bit inside over here. If I am not mistaken, this will lead us out into the second platform. Now, the second platform is obviously where those rocket launchers were. And if we have a look at the station over here, obviously as the most important thing on any station, we've got the med bays over here. Med bays, once again, where you can change out your suit, where you can heal yourself, where you can respawn if for some unknown reason you have died. This is where it is all done. And then obviously I do believe that this exit also just leads us once again back out onto the second level. But I mean, now that we've had a look at this level, so once again, very, very basic, but it's got the necessities, it's got the things a person needs in order to ensure that you can survive. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this lovely staircase, the one that's enclosed in glass, and we're going to actually follow it up. Now this, if I'm not mistaken, should lead us to almost an observation deck. It goes up even further, but we do have another level over here. Now let's see what this level does actually. Where does this level go? I actually didn't see this level. Oh, okay, so this is the level that is just above the main column that goes all the way up. This is basically another observation platform. You can come outside, you can have a look. You've got a beautiful 360 view all the way around you to see if there's anything possibly crawling your way, coming your way, flying your way. If there's either some spiders, some drones, or some wild animals coming towards you. And yes, I did mention those things because those are things that are actually in the game at this very moment. So obviously we've got the 4 exits that just lead out into the observation deck, and now we've got this long winding staircase that will obviously take us to the very top. It'll take us to the observation deck where we can see everything. Now also, I didn't actually see that, and I actually like that it is incomplete. It hasn't actually been built 100%, but in here, for as a basically an aesthetic design, the creator has put antennas that haven't fully been welded up. Have put antennas on the inside over there. So basically that just adds almost like a pillar or a design appeal or aesthetic appeal to the actual creation itself. So now here we are, we're on the very top, we got this observation platform, and I think this is my favorite room in this entire creation. I mean, downstairs the hangar, the way it leads into that staircase, I mean, that's absolutely gorgeous. But this I love. Obviously each person sitting over here, the unfinished railings that obviously creates almost like a cubicle effect with the I don't know, the operators, the engineers, the mechanics all sitting at their workstations doing what they need to, making sure that obviously all the operations are running smoothly on the station in this fort, making sure that they've obviously got a full 360 view at all times around the entire platform. But then this I like. This, we've basically got a rotor mounted on a standard block over here with a simple small block design put on top of it, and this will just rotate. It gives it just that little bit of an extra aesthetic appeal, just a little homely feeling. And then obviously to protect this entire room, we've got an interior turret at the top there, looking down on this entire room. Should somebody or something make its way in here, that will obviously deal with it. But now, this is why I wanted to get up here. I wanted to open this up and possibly just so that we can get up here and have a look. Now that little ore spot on the ground there just looks weird. It looks like a little man. But obviously, as you can see, we've now got these observation platforms. It doesn't loop all the way around, but obviously there are 4 doors, so you can go out on either side. And this gives us a very, very clear view around us. It gives us quite a outlook as of where we could possibly find ore deposits, because if I'm not mistaken, dark spots such as that on either the moon or the planet or other planets, dark spots such as that are where you are going to find minerals and resources that you are going to need later on in the game. But what I like is the change of the landscape. I mean, when you looked out that way, it was very flat, and then we look out this way, we've got those rocky section out there, out in the distance. We've got quite a couple of craters, and some of these craters can actually be stupidly deep, so you do need to be careful when you're obviously driving your vehicles around on the planets and on the moon, so you don't end up going into one of those. But I mean, this fort has given a very, very clear 360 view all the way around the entire base. Now on top, obviously you can't get there, but I like the fact that he hasn't just left it, he's actually given it a finished look, because obviously with aircrafts coming in and out, obviously you could possibly put some lights on here just to make it look a little bit nicer. But overall, I am very impressed with this fort. I mean, this is the Citadel Fortress, and I mean, it will serve the purpose of a fortress for damn sure. I mean, it's got the weaponry to protect you, it's made out of the heavy armor block, so you are not getting into this fort without a fight. So the next creation we are going to be having a look at is actually 2-in-1. Now, the reason why I've done this is I actually decided to combine the two, because the next one is a station, and then the last creation is actually a fighter. But I decided, you know what, let's place both of them in the same world, and let's have a look at them both at the exact same time. So firstly, the station. The station, once again, was made by Black Armor. Once again, no mods, so it's a full vanilla creation. And this is the Imperial Guard compound. So once again, something that has a real world application. Something that could really serve a purpose if you're playing in a survival situation, if you're playing with a couple of friends, or if you're playing on an online server. Obviously, once again, building it would take you absolutely for fucking ever, but if you had it built, it would serve a very realistic and real world application and a real purpose. And I think that is why I enjoy the creations that I've had a look at so far so much. So we're going to turn around, we're going to have a look, but before we do that, and we'll actually get to that later on, but the ship that we're also going to be having a look at, the fighter, is the D-22 Raptor. Now this is a small fighter, very nimble, does very good in atmosphere and in space, obviously, and it's got a decent amount of weapons, nothing too severe, nothing too overpowering, but it serves a purpose. So we're gonna spin around over here and we're going to have a look. I mean, that just looks stunning, and if you have a look at the design of it, that is the kind of thing that you would actually expect to find on the moon if we were building bases on the moon. It suits the environment so damn well. I mean, I just love looking at it. I could look at this all day, and the small amount of attention to detail is stunning. Now the ship over there is on the landing pad, but we'll have a look at that once we are done with the station itself. So I want to go around the station over here quickly first, and you can see we've got these two beautiful staircases leading up into the hangar bays, or basically the access ways, and they've obviously been protected by interior turrets that are placed over there just to protect these catwalks basically. And I love once again, aesthetic appeal for me is a big thing, and the way he's added these buttresses here on the outside looks phenomenal. I mean, it reminds me of that typical French Revolution art style. I mean, the Notre Dame, those kind of structures have these buttresses on it, and it not only serves a purpose but looks absolutely stunning as well. And what I do like is he's put incomplete, I'm not sure if those are spotlights or rotors, but he's put incomplete rotors or spotlights on the tips over here just to finish it off, just to give it that extra aesthetic appeal, that extra design factor to it. Now before we go further along, I want to show you here at the top, he's created this cone, basically this standing point over here, and at the top of this you've got your exterior turrets. These things have got a range of about up to 800 meters, and then we've got a rocket launcher pod on the top. So this is definitely going to, well, protect your base. I'm not sure if there's any weaponry any further on down this creation. I'm not 100% sure. I actually haven't had a look at it. Like I said, I like to enjoy this with you guys. But as it stands, I mean, it looks beautiful. And once again, it serves a purpose. The only error that I could possibly see, if there's no weaponry down on that side of the base and something is attacking from down there, these Gatling guns don't have a clear line of sight, and they're possibly going to end up shooting at your building to try and get to whatever is there, or that part of your base is going to be very undefended. But obviously you yourself are going to be you're going to be having friends, playing with a couple of people, and obviously making sure that the base stays secure at all times. So we move down to this side, and once again he's continued that same design all the way around. The buttresses with the either incomplete rotors or spotlights all along it, just to add that extra level of detail. And he's actually gone ahead and painted it this dark grey, which I'm going to say 100% I agree with. It just makes it stand out a little bit more on the surface of the planet and looks truly stunning. Now over here we've got a connection point. This connection point obviously pretty straightforward. You can dock a ship to this, connect it up, make sure that you drop off all the supplies straight into the base itself. And I'm guessing if this connector is here, it means that the entire base is piped up and everything is connected to one another. Okay, so when we move on from that point over there, this looks like this could possibly be a trapdoor that possibly opens up, simply having a look at the design, because those are heavy blast doors, or if that is quite simply aesthetic appeal. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe once we get into the base and we start having a look, it might explain a little bit more. Now this is pretty straightforward. It's just a passage that obviously leads into the rest of the base. Once again, looks absolutely stunning. I love the design element of it. I mean, once again, this over here, these things serve absolutely no purpose. That is just creative use of the blocks available to you. I mean, all he's just used around the blocks. He's placed quite a couple of, I think it's the rotors or the spotlights on top of one another, incomplete. He's put down 2 antennas that are incomplete, and it looks like those are crucial communication points or navigational points. It looks like those actually serve a purpose, when in actual fact they have got no purpose whatsoever. So not a necessity to be there, but glad it has been put there, because it just rounds off everything. It finishes off the entire design. Now this is what I was a bit afraid of, because I mean, if I move down to this side, now forget about the big hole we've got over there at the bottom. This is what I was a little afraid of. This whole section over here, I mean, for example, I'm going to move to this piece over here. I'm a bad guy. I'm coming in. I've obviously scouted the place. I've made sure that I stay about 800 meters away. I've used the onboard cameras to properly scout out this base, and I noticed that over here is a weak point. So all I do is I make sure I stay behind these rocks, I stay away from everything, and I mean, have a look over here. If I'm at this point, I am literally right at your base, but those Gatling guns can't see me. So it means if I've got the time, if I've got the patience, if I've got my signals all switched off, I've got the grinder, I can literally, I don't even have to fight. I just go ahead and I grind straight through your base, and before you know it, I'm inside. Now obviously I don't know how many interior turrets we've got, but it still means I'm inside your base, and you've now got an entire wall exposed over there. So that's the only possible design flaw I saw over this. If he could have created that exact same design he did over there, with that spider stance basically, with the Gatling guns and the rocket pod on top, if he had recreated that design over here, this entire base 360 would be fully defended, because right now he does have a weak point on this side. But once again, still something I'm deeply in love with. Obviously we're not going to go over to the landing pad, because the landing pad we'll have a look at once we get to the ship itself. But we are going to move this way, because I do obviously want to use this door over here so that we can get into this base. Oh, it's the moon, I forgot. It doesn't have as much gravity, so I need to actually slow down. Okay, so obviously we've got these doors, and they are on sensor blocks. As you can see, I just got close, and it opened up for me, and it leads into this stunning hallway. And once again, it's deceiving of how big these creations actually are. I mean, we just came through the doors, we had a look from the outside, it didn't look that big, but now that we're inside, we're looking down this corridor, and it looks like it just goes on forever. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, I love the attention to detail that the person has gone through once again. I mean, yeah, making use of those are actually your drill arms. These are actually the arms that you use to drill, your huge drills. Making use of them, placing them down, destroying them a little bit, so they're incomplete, they haven't been fully welded, but they add that level of aesthetic appeal. I mean, if you have a look at that engines, it looks like those could possibly serve as statues, or possibly like monuments or memorials, and they've been placed all around the room. At every single entrance you can see it's been placed. Okay, now we have a look over here, and once again, I like this design, and this is something we saw in his previous design as well. He's basically got these two elevated platforms to our left and to our right, and these have got the med bays stored on top of them. These have got the med bays over here. Once again, I need to have in every single base that is made. It needs to be there. I mean, if you don't have those, the first time you die, you're gonna have to fly a long distance to get back to your base, basically to your station. And once again, this just leads out through another set of hangar doors that basically leads out onto the planet's surface. Once again, this is a design that is supposed to be used within atmosphere. I just decided to put it on the moon, just to put it in a different environment than what it's supposed to be in. Now, this over here, I honestly like. Before we get to the control station over there, that is actually a beacon block. That beacon block is once again incomplete, and he's placed lights on the side of it. Now, with that incomplete look, it almost looks like a chandelier is hanging from the center of a room here. It provides sufficient light, and obviously has got that unique design element to it. Having a look underneath, you can see right through it in some places. Some of the sections that are open, obviously, because it isn't complete. I mean, stuff like that, not everybody thinks about. Everybody thinks that the blocks has to be completed. And I mean, I've seen quite a couple of people making use of that system, and it is absolutely phenomenal that you go that far outside the box, that you use different items at their different levels of completion to obviously finish off your base, to create that atmosphere, that give it that aesthetic appeal. I mean, once again, props to all of the creators that we're going to be having a look at today. I mean, I don't think I'd ever be able to do something like this. I mean, I've got quite a couple of hours into this game, but still, don't think I'd be able to go this in depth or create such elaborate designs as what these people have. So here at the top, it looks like we've got a simple control station. This is probably the heart of the ship where everything gets done. This is possibly where the officers will stand, or the engineers, and they will do and run their main tests from that section over there. Make sure that this compound, this Imperial Guard compound, stays operational. Now going down this way, we've got a lovely, nice, long corridor, and then there at the end, just like I thought, is the facility's inner workings. These are the most important parts of the facility itself. This is where you can refine items that you need, create resources. Obviously these are your refineries, so they break down the ore into ingots. The ingots then go into the assemblers turn it into whatever item that you may need, the components that you need, and from those components you then build whatever block or whatever item or thing that you need to make. And I love the way it is placed in the corner. It doesn't take up too much space, and it is fully piped up. I mean, if we have a look at the back here, we've got all of the control, the advancement modules, just making their output a little bit better. We've got a large storage container over here, so more than enough storage to make sure that everything can fit inside there. So everything has been piped up very neatly, very nicely. It's out of the way. It actually looks quite stunning, and the way the designer has put these railings around here just gives it that extra something. Just gives it that something that says, okay, this is a working ship, but it looks beautiful as well. Now I know it looks like a clusterfuck inside there, but obviously all of that serves a purpose. If you want a fully functioning interior system that is fully automated with your sorters and your conveyors and that kind of stuff, it does take up quite a bit of room. But the way the creator has done over here, very, very nice. It still leaves this massive open space for any amount of people to funnel through here very easily without having to disrupt the creation or the workflow of your corner over there. So very, very nice. And then once again using this unfinished beacon to create that chandelier hanging from the roof. And then once again, I love it. I mean, look at that corridor. That is stunning. That reminds me a little bit of Prometheus. I don't know how many of you guys, sorry, not Prometheus, I think it was Event Orion. Event Orion, old sci-fi movie, had one of the ships they were looking for had a very, very long corridor. And this reminds me of that corridor. It's basically like you could run forever, you know, get your morning exercise running up and down this corridor. I mean, doesn't that just look stunning? So speaking of running, we are actually going to break out into a bit of a run because obviously it's a long way to go. But as we run down here, I love the way he's put these windows over here. Now obviously on a planet that has got an atmosphere, you don't need glass. You can actually put these vented windows over there because that way the air can flow in and out, allow some oxygen into the building while still providing security. So that I think is placed all the way down, and I like this over here as well. It's basically like apart from a window, you could use this as a shooting platform. Somebody's attacking, you can obviously fall in over here, whip out your weapon. You know what, let's actually do that. Let's actually grab a gun over here. Where's my gun? Let's take the elite automatic rifle. So you've gotten into a fight, you're standing over here, people are coming at you, you can always just look down, open up a couple of shots. Obviously you can't hear the gun that well right now because I am in 0G, so space doesn't exactly emit sound that well. So you're obviously shooting out, you're trying to take out whatever's attacking you. You've got a couple of these gun ports everywhere, so obviously the people inside, they can move around. People are attacking, you're obviously shooting off at them, making sure that you can defend this compound at all costs. So I like that design. I like that it's basically like a shooting port over there. Very, very nicely done, and then it flows back into these windows. Okay, so we've reached what seems to be just a little design thing over here. Not sure what the purpose of this is. I don't think there is a purpose of it, but it looks stunning. I mean, you cannot deny that looks absolutely freaking awesome. I'd love to know how he did that. I think he just put lights on the inside and then just built the smaller blocks around it, obviously with the rotor block at the bottom, so that you could put the small blocks on top of the big blocks. Very nicely done. And then once again, the chandelier over there. We've obviously then got the hangar entrance over here. This once again leads out to the outside world, allows you to drive smaller ships or possibly just walk up here. I don't think the space is big enough so you can actually fit anything up here. It's only 2 blocks wide, so I don't think this is designed to actually drive anything in. I think it's just multiple entrances for people to use. So if we run down this passage, here we have got, well, the most important part of the room. If I'm not mistaken, these are tiny reactors. Let me just make 100% sure. I actually think so. I could be wrong. I don't actually think they are. Nope, they are. Those are the small reactors. And then once again, no, those aren't small reactors. I honestly don't know what these are. because those are the reactors over there. These are the reactors that are powering this entire station. We've obviously got, looks like 2, 4, 6, 8 reactors, possibly some more behind it, I'm not 100% sure, but we've got quite a couple of reactors powering this base. I honestly have got no idea what this block is. I actually think, oh, never mind, I know exactly what these blocks, these are advanced modules. These are either modules that you use on your assembler or your refinery to improve either output or production or power usage. Those are the modules, and I think the way he's put it over here, I don't actually think it serves a purpose. I think it's quite simply just, oh, it does actually serve a purpose. It actually looks like there are refineries under this. So there is quite a lot to the station, a lot more than meets the eye. I just wanted to delete one of those modules so I could actually see if it was simply put there for aesthetic appeal because of the green lights that are obviously on those modules, or if it is actually connected to something, and it looks like it actually is. But I actually think those are assemblers and those aren't refineries themselves. So the way it has been designed is very lovely. Just I don't know why these assemblers have been put so far away from the refineries. I mean, the refineries are all the way at the end of that corridor, far down there. So I'm not really sure why it was done that way. But then obviously we've got the inner workings of the ship, the part and the room that gives this entire creation power, and that is where the reactors are. Now I do warn you, in the next room I made a bit of a boo-boo. Obviously trying to place this entire creation down, it was a little bit different, especially on an uneven surface. Everything else ended up being above the ground, but for some unknown reason this station or this room had a situation where we've got these mounds basically inside there. Okay, now that I've taken the time to actually clear out the boo-boo that I made, obviously getting rid of the land that was encasing this room. Unfortunately that does come down when you sometimes try and place blocks on an uneven surface. But now that I've cleared that out, this is one of my favorite rooms. Just the way the designer has gone ahead and created this platform, this working surface over here. I mean, this is something that could very easily be a mod, but obviously it's not. But the way it's been done, I mean, you cannot deny that this is absolutely stunning. The way he's put the TVs or the LCD screens inset into basically like columns over there, the smaller displays at the bottom, the chairs so that you can access those information, the way he's put incomplete blocks over here, antenna blocks, spotlights, beacon blocks, incomplete small blocks, just to add that extra level of detail. I mean, this is something that would never occur to me, not in a million years, something I would never think of actually doing, especially within a station, to mix that difference between the big and the small blocks. I mean, that is just done so damn well. And then once again, a central control point. Obviously, this is where the big boss sits, keeps an eye over all the people that are busy working. And this is possibly the heart of the ship. This is possibly where all the communication gets done. And then we've obviously got these timing blocks over here. Sorry, not the timing blocks, the programmable blocks. So if you do want to add in anything like the timing for those doors that automatically open when we get close to them, these can be set on timers and programmed in on these blocks over there. So I mean, once again, I mean, Black Armor has put so much attention to detail in all of his creations. I've got some creations of his that I'm going to be having a look at in the future as well. But overall, I must say, this is done so well, and it's the kind of station that once again not only looks stunning but serves a real world application. I mean, this is something I could possibly see myself using in a survival scenario. So truly amazing. I mean, once again, I'm impressed by the designs that I have a look at. Each week we have a look at some of these. I mean, I always just ask myself, why could I never think of these? Why is my imagination not as far out or as landish as these people's? Because I mean, I would never build something like it. I normally end up just building a block so that it serves a simple purpose. I never go this in depth into the design of it. Like I said, there is one design flaw that's simply with the protection of the base, but that could possibly be because this is supposed to be used along with something else. And if you're creating an entire compound apart from just this building, you could possibly put up defense systems elsewhere, obviously covering that blind spot that you've got at the back there. Okay, so now that we've actually had a look at that compound, I mean, once again, that compound is stunning. Now that we've actually had a look at it, I just quickly want to do a once-over of this platform over here. This is the platform, obviously, where your ship lands. Once again, two very pointless pieces over here. They look like they serve a purpose. They possibly look like they could be fuel silos, but no, they are actually piped up, and the pipes do actually run underground into the main facility, so that if you need anything out here while you're busy with your ship, you can obviously get them through this cargo container over here. But the next design we're actually having a look at is this one. If I'm not mistaken, this is the D22 Raptode. This is a simple, short little fighter. And I was actually mistaken. It's not a fighter. It doesn't have any weaponry. I think this is purely an exploration ship. The ship obviously serves a purpose of getting you around on a planet or on a planet's surface, but the design of it is stunning. I really like the way it has been done. Now, there's not much that I can obviously go around showing you inside, but what I am going to do is I am going to get into the cockpit. We are going to take this bad boy off just so that we can obviously show you what the ship is capable of. So obviously, what we'll do is we'll get it off the surface, raise us up, and because we've got the inertia dampeners on, it'll come to a full stand, obviously, while those thrusters at the bottom keep us hovering. So it's a beautiful design, no doubt about it. The way that they've put down the corner lights on the ship, the lines that the creator has put on it, I mean, it looks stunning. The only thing I don't like is that it doesn't actually have any weaponry, but that could obviously be because each ship serves a purpose. Sometimes the ship doesn't actually need any form of armaments, specifically if its role is for it not to be a fighter. This, I think, is more of an explorer because there is no weaponry on this, but I think with a bit of tweaking we could possibly put the automated turrets on each one of the wings, just removing some non-essential blocks. But I am in love with it. I like the design. It's very futuristic. I love the fact that there is a connection port at the bottom, so that once again it's actually show off the application of it. You get close to your ship, you've just gone through a run, you've picked up a couple of things that you need. Now you want to obviously get to the station over here. You've obviously got your connection port there at the bottom. So what you do is you just simply line it up. Now obviously with there being no atmosphere, the ship's handling isn't 100% great, but we will be able to line it up. So you get to these connection points over here. If I'm not mistaken, you press 3 and that actually turns off the main thrusters so that your controls are a little bit finer. And then it's simply a case of we lower ourselves onto it. I know we're a little bit off at the moment. Whoops, that was not supposed to happen. Okay, so we just blew up our ship. We just destroyed a whole piece of the bottom part of the ship. So that's why I am not meant to be a pilot. But yeah, that was the point. I mean, just pretend like we've actually docked to it. We've actually connected and we're actually making use of that shit. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at that. I've always hated docking. It's always been such a shitty thing that I've been able to do. I always end up crashing some. I'm always coming in way too hard. But now I just want to take a quick flight just to obviously show that the ship is quite nimble. It does have quite a bit of maneuverability to it, just to show the surface of the moon a little bit more. I mean, it serves a real world application. It's quick, it's fast, so the ship is very maneuverable. In atmosphere it works a little bit better, it slows down a little bit better, but I mean, this will get you around any planet relatively quickly. The lines are clean, the design is flawless, it serves a realistic world application, and I mean, it looks stunning. And then once again, if we really needed to, we could always just point it at the planet, get ourselves going, and then just fly away from the moon and fly towards that planet. And then obviously land there. Once we're there, obviously we do have the capability to fly within an atmosphere as well. This will eventually start leaving the surface of the moon. There's a planet out that way, and there's another planet right next to the sun there. I don't know if you guys can see it. But I mean, that was the Best Space Engineers Creations Part 3. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. We've obviously had a look at quite a couple of designs today. 2 stations, this little Explorer. I don't actually want to call it a fighter anymore. But I mean, once again, unique in the designs that we had a look at. I mean, I'm always impressed when I have a look at things like this and I can see what the community is actually capable of. It's always, I don't want to say inspiring because it sounds so cliche, but it's always so refreshing to see that people aren't sticking to the same thing over and over. People are actually mixing it up. They're playing around with creations. They're playing around with different blocks. Having blocks serve a purpose that it was never actually intended to serve. And I mean, that is exactly why I thought about starting this creation, showing off what people can do. Now, as you can see at this point, as you can see at this point, we are now literally just flying off away from the planet. We are now just going towards, from the moon. We are now just going towards the planet. And eventually we'll get there, but not in this episode. I really do hope you guys enjoyed that. I really do hope you guys enjoy the creations that we had a look at today. Some of them, well, all of them are actually very, very unique. The 2 stations, I'm in love with them. It is something I'm keeping as a permanent blueprint for myself, so that if I do play a survival situation, it is going to be something I possibly want to have a look at building. Definitely not going to be easy, but obviously it is something that I want to try and do myself in my own time. But if you guys enjoyed that episode, by all means, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see all you beautiful people in my next video. But obviously until then, cheers.